I'm an addict. My name's Michael.
Hey,
Michael. And I want to thank this committee, programming, for allowing me to come out here and share my experience, strength, and hope on traditions 4, 5, and 6. I also want to thank the guy, sponsor, who couldn't be here, and I'm filling in for him. Thanks, Tom. I guess the other topic here is fun and recovery. So NA's a program of opposites. So I'm doing unfun and recovery, traditions 4, 5, and 6, and Rob will be doing fun and recovery. But, you know, I'm not a guy who memorizes our literature anymore. I used to be a guy that did that. So, fourth tradition, I kind of got to read it. I pulled it up on my phone. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or NA as a whole. I'm just going to jump right in. We only have about 20 minutes. So the first thing I did when I wound up coming to Narcotics Anonymous was I got a home group. I got a sponsor. I got a basic text. I got a dictionary. I got It Works How and Why, and I got it Just for Today, because they were the only books that were here when I came. And I asked that sponsor, you know, what I had to do to work the steps. And he said, we're going to read the step for 30 days. If you miss, you got to repeat it. And then I'm going to give you some questions to answer on the first step. And he said, do you have a home group? And I said, no. And he said, come here, come over to this book. And he had me sign my name, my phone number, and my clean date. And that's how I feel I became a member of Narcotics Anonymous. Because I got a sponsor, I got a home group, and I took direction. And, you know, I was a member of that home group for 15 years. And in that home group, you know, I learned a lot about the traditions by participating in that home group, showing up every week, and, you know, being involved in all the positions that there are to have in a home group. And that home group, it still meets. It's Tuesday and Saturday nights. And, you know, when you took a commitment in that home group, for instance, to chair the meeting, you chaired both nights. You just didn't pick a night that you wanted, and then you had to get speakers for both of those nights. So, you know, it was a commitment. But I had nothing else going on when I got clean. I don't know about anybody else, but when I came here, there was zero going on. So it was easy for me to do that stuff, is jump in. And I remember one of the things at that home group that was different was the name, Straight Time. Right? It's not clean time, it's straight time. And the reason for that is because guys that started that home group were from the other fellowship. And they felt the need for an NA meeting. And so that home group was started. It's been there since '84. And so that's why it's called Straight Time. Another thing that was a little different at that home group was when I got clean there, they didn't have 18-month key tags.
That's right.
And the reason for that is because that group's autonomy, they felt that since when they got clean, because the guys in there, you know, had been clean prior to the 18-month key tag, they felt that that wasn't right and that they weren't going to honor having an 18-month key tag. So, you know, being the guy, yeah, you know, you got to wait, man. You can't come in and get a year and then because you get 6 more months, then you get this special key tag. That's how they felt, you know. And they had a strong, man. They were hardcore, right? So I remember Rob and I, like, we would talk about that all the time. Like, what's the big deal? You know what I mean? We understood their position, you know, but autonomy allowed them to do that. a lot of times we could use autonomy in a bad way, right? Just to get our own way. So we got to be careful of that. I mean, autonomy gives us the freedom to have a meeting the way we feel that we want to have it, but we also want to make sure that it's principle-based and recovery-based. We don't just want to like throw shit up against the wall to see if it's going to stick or not. So, that's part of being involved in a home group and having a format that works. Like that meeting on Tuesday and Saturday nights, their format was that it was a speaker meeting both nights. And what that did was, that was different than the meetings, the other meetings down there, because a lot of the other meetings were literature-based meetings, meaning they were literature discussion meetings. So that home group was always different that way. And there was a need for that. So when I think of autonomy and the freedom that we have to have the format the way that you want it, you want to think about that. You want to think about in your area, like what's the need? If I'm going to have this group, like what are the needs of that area? Like what do we need to do for us to carry the message sufficiently, right? Because that's what it's about. Each tradition is a little insurance policy that protects our message, right? That any addict can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live, right? So we want to create and maintain that. And that's what autonomy can give you. But, it's a double-edged sword, right? So with autonomy, I'm going to make that quick. Like, yeah, you have the freedom to do what you want, but let's think of others, right? If you're going to start a meeting at 6 o'clock on a Monday, and there's a meeting at 7:30 on a Monday, maybe you don't want to start that meeting if the area that you're in is very, very small. And there's only 12 addicts showing up at a 7:30 meeting on a Monday. What you're going to do is you're probably going to take half of those people just to start a meeting. That for what reason? So it's convenient for you. And believe me, I'm interested in a Monday 6 o'clock meeting from 6 to 7. I'm in, right? Because I can't stay up late anymore, right? So, but I thought about that because I just switched home groups because it's just not practical for me to be out past 9 o'clock anymore. So anyhow, that's some things that I thought about in my experience on the fourth tradition. The fifth tradition, each group has but one primary purpose: to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. That's, to me, what the traditions are about. They're protecting our ability to do that, right? So, as a home group, you want to make sure that that's what your primary focus is. Because if you focus on helping the sick and still suffering addict, people are going to come to that group and they're going to get better, right? It's about the first tradition there, right? Our common welfare. It's not to stay sick, it's to get better. So we want to make sure that we're creating that kind of atmosphere in the group. That's what drew me to that first meeting that I became a home group member of. Was there was something going on there. I don't know what it was, right? I didn't know for a long, long time when I was joined that home group, the feeling that I got, what it was. I couldn't identify it. It took a while. Well, today I know what it is. It was hope. That group fed me with some hope. Something I didn't even know that's what it was. And that's what kept me going back there and staying and participating and being a good home group member, a member in good standing. Because I didn't know what it was. It was years later that I figured out what that was. And that's what you do to people when people come in, right? We're banged up, we're hurting, we don't know which end's up. We got a lot of misinformation going on when we get here. So to have a place that's focused on one thing and one thing only, it puts everything else to the side and allows people to come here and possibly stay here like I did. Look, I didn't go to rehab. I came in right off the street. Came to a meeting, and I've stayed clean, almost 3 decades now. And it was because of the way that group carried the message. It's and there's two ways to carry a message, right? You can carry it or you can deliver it. I prefer carrying it. It's the way that I act. It's my behavior. And the behavior of the members in that group was attractive enough that that's why I wanted to become a member of that group. So, in that group, a lot of friends, seen a lot of people get clean, a lot of people stay clean, a lot of people come and not stay clean. As a result of that home group, like Rob and I are like brothers, man. We're brothers in recovery. We did a lot of fun things, man, in recovery. We did a lot of stuff for that home group. We banged heads. We butted heads. I remember going home after group consciences and getting out. It works how why and the basic text and going through the traditions and looking up shit because I wanted to go back the next month and go, yeah, but what about this? And in the beginning, for me, it was never about getting in my way. It was about helping. It was about making the home group better, right? Like our second tradition talks about, right? Is when you take a position, you want to make it better than the way you found it, right? So I just wanted to improve upon what was already there. But, we were new. We didn't know what we were doing. And, ego and pride and all that stuff can get in the way of trying to do something good, right? No good deed goes unpunished. But in the end, man, that meeting's still going. It's still going strong. And, they're doing what they're supposed to do. So, sixth tradition. An NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose, right? So it's pretty straightforward. You don't want to get in bed with anybody because then there's strings attached to that. I remember one time where, I don't know, it wasn't my group, but I remember a group was approached by like the pastor or whatever, and he had asked if he could come in and like bless the meeting and then talk to the members and all that. And, that is a perfect example of why we have a sixth tradition, because we don't want to do that. And because if we do it, then we are endorsing that church. And if somebody has a problem with the church, our lives are at stake. So we can't lose anybody, right? So we don't want to separate people from the help. And that's what it does. When you take money, property, or prestige, and you let it divert you from the primary purpose, people could die. It's that simple. That's how I look at that. And you could also look at, there was a controversy with members, I call them newcomers, that had papers that needed to be signed. That was a big thing for a long, long time. Yeah. And the home groups that I have always been a part of, we just signed them, man. We didn't make a big deal of it. We're not policing that person because they're bringing this to be signed. And I never liked that we called them paper signers. I didn't like that either. Why label somebody as a paper signer? How about if we just call them newcomers? Because that's what they are. And we need those people. But yet, just because we signed that paper, it doesn't mean that we're endorsing drug court or anything. The way I think about it as we're just cooperating with them. It's another way for us to get members, right? It's just like when we do H&I and we go into the jail, which I've done since I had a year clean. What we're doing there is we're trying to carry the message so these people know when they get out of jail that they have a place to go, that they can stay clean and they'll get help, right? So we don't want to divert from that. And that's what, money, property, prestige, that's what it does. It diverts you from, even in my own life, I can get diverted from my own recovery if I get caught up in money, property, and prestige, right? I call it becoming under the influence of it, right? We can become under the influence of anything, right? It doesn't have to be the drug. It can be anything outside ourselves we can become under the influence of, and it affects our thinking. And then we become all about that instead of what we're supposed to be about. And in NA, we can't afford to do that, right? We have to protect ourselves from ourselves. And that's what the traditions do. And if you have a home group and you're involved in sponsorship, if you have questions about the traditions or you don't understand them, I would say that you probably understand them because you're showing up at a home group and you're participating in it, that you probably understand the traditions more than you think you do. It's just that you haven't discussed them with your sponsor possibly to really understand how you can practice them in your daily living. So, again, I appreciate, and it's an honor that, I was asked to fill in for Tom, and I'm glad that I could be of service. And to me, that's what the traditions are, man. They're about being of service. The hardest thing with the traditions are that each one of them are asking you to give something up. And that's the hardest thing for an addict to do, is give something up. That's all I got. Thanks.
Awesome.